Good morning, everyone. Thank you much for joining us live from Griffin's Virtual Expo this morning. We're excited to present you with today's Solution Spotlight. The CEA team at Griffin works very closely with our supplier partners, and we work with them to bring you on-point solutions for your day-to-day, everyday problems, things that will help you improve your production. Today, we're going to be hearing about irrigation strategies for cannabis production in Rockwool. We have three people with us today. We have Charlotte Rose. She is our CEA sales rep that serves Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. We have Michael Bateman from Grodan, and we have Grant Williams from Netafim with us today. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Charlotte, take it away.
Good, thanks, Tammy. I also want to thank Michael and Grant, both of you, for taking the time to join us today for our Solution Spotlight, helping us kick off our first ever virtual expo as well. And to begin, I think we'll start with kind of a common difference between ornamental production and hydroponic production. So while ornamental production relies heavily on peat and core-based media, hydroponic cultivation in Grodan Rockwool is very popular in cannabis. Cultivators like the ease of use. It's really plug and play, place it on the bench, and it's set. The cleanliness of the product is ideal from the initial setup through cultivation, and equally as important through changeovers from crop to crop. So for cultivators using Grodan for the first time, what tips do you have for them, Michael, that would help them be successful? And maybe specifically talk about how the product is made and other important considerations of the use and of the product.
Absolutely. So Grodan is an inert media that is derived from basalt rock, which is the most abundant rock on the planet. During the manufacturing process, we return it to its molten state by heating it to about 2,000 degrees Celsius. And then you can liken it to spinning cotton candy to create the wool. We then add a hydrophilic binder and wetting agent. So what you get is a very lightweight, sterile growing medium that poses near zero risk of introducing pests and pathogens into the growing space. We manufacture a wide variety of sizes, from propagation plugs and blocks, small 3-inch and 4-inch blocks, and of course the widely used 6-inch blocks, which are great for growers maintaining a plant density of, let's say, 1 plant per 1 to 2 square feet, who are looking for that one-touch approach, and of course a number of different slabs as well. I would say, if there are any questions regarding proper substrate volume, block size, block slab configurations, I encourage you to reach out to your local Griffin and Grodan reps. To the second part of your question, considerations to help growers from the start. Number one would be starting with healthy cuttings, and more importantly, maybe starting with healthy moms to give you those healthy cuts. Making sure you have well-developed, well-rooted cuts before plugging into the larger block will smooth that transition and will hasten the rooting in period. Piggybacking off of that, once transplanted, making sure that you're providing small irrigation shots over that first 24-hour period to make sure that you have adequate water content within the plug, as well as within the upper portion of the block to allow for quick rooting in. Next, I would say, properly preparing the block, and that is, saturating it fully. There are a variety of ways to do this, but it's imperative that you really fully wet it up from the beginning. And lastly, I would say develop an understanding of crop steering and build your irrigation strategy around that. With that, investing in root zone monitoring equipment. Grodan offers the GrowSense and the new eGrow system, but something so you can manage water content and EC in real time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for that. And that kind of brings us to the next question I have for you, Grant. Considering irrigation equipment, what do growers need to know about the irrigation setup and equipment that's needed to really streamline and automate their production?
Thank you, Charlotte. Well, what you need to know about drip irrigation, it's very precise. And when you're talking about this type of product, you need very little water that goes on several times a day. And drip irrigation allows you to do that, to be very precise, and also you want it to be as uniform throughout the whole room so that every plant gets the same amount of water, same type of nutrients at the same time. And drip irrigation will do that for you compared to if you try to do it by hand watering. Because when you run the system, you're only running it for seconds, maybe a minute, maybe a little bit longer, depends on the size of your grodan block. We have a sheet that's called a Precision Rockwool Applications, and on the back, it gives you time frames that you want to run the irrigation based upon your emitter. Now, this emitter is based on 1.2 liters per hour. It's our smallest emitter, but it does a wonderful job. You want a pressure compensated product. You're going to use an emitter like this. You're going to have a dripper assembly. We have a dripper, the tubing, and the stake. And depending on the size of the block, this brochure will tell you how many stakes you need in the block. Most commonly, people use 2 stakes per block, unless it's a larger block. And they have a tendency to do that because they want the ability to, if one gets clogged up or one fails or whatever the case may be, the other one will still work. This is the most common type use for this situation. So this emitter, we have different emitters for different flow control. So based upon the emitter you pick out, you can then calculate from this sheet what your runtime needs. So the most, like I say, the most common is about a ½ gallon per hour or a 0.32 gallon per hour emitter. Those are our most commonly used products. And this is our standard stake. The length of the tubing can vary depending upon your setup. So you can get these at different lengths. You can either have them pre-made or you can make them yourself with the components.
So you mentioned having a minimum of 2 emitters, stakes and emitters per plant, depending on the size. So for built-in redundancy in case there's a clog. So similarly, what do you recommend for growers to ensure that their lines stay clear?
Great question, Charlotte. The best thing is you always want a filtration system. Usually you have a primary filter for your main, from your fertilizer. So it's the filter will keep out the larger undissolved filter items into the system. And you're going to have a secondary filter, and that's going to be at the zone. And although the best filter for this type of thing is going to be a disc filter. You really don't want to use a screen filter because when those get dirty, there's more pressure on them. Dirt and debris, undissolved fertilizers can be pushed through, go on down, and then clog up these emitters. So that is the best way to keep it. But if you do, after every season, you want to use a product called Strip It, and you want to use it after every grow season that there is. Mm-hmm. And because no matter how hard you try, you will have algae, well, not algae, but other things, biofilm build up in that tubing, whether if you're growing indoor cannabis or outdoor, if you're a greenhouse or nursery, it always builds up, and you always want to use some type of cleaner. I recommend Strip It because it seems to work very, very well. I've never had any complaints on Strip It. And you want to do it after every growing season. That way you're ensured to keep good, clean lines and keep them clogging from happening.
Yeah, so prevention.
Yes.
Prevention. Yeah, thanks for that. Michael, you mentioned briefly crop steering and the concept of crop steering. Can you take just a minute or two and high level describe what that is and the benefits of that?
Yeah, it's certainly, it's something that we talk about a lot. It's a term used to describe the ability of growers to influence a plant's mode of growth. That is to focus on vegetative growth or generative growth via controllable factors. So light, environmental conditions, and irrigation strategy for the purpose of improving health, vigor, crop quality, and overall productivity. When Grodan talks crop steering, we're referring to it in the context of irrigation strategy. Developing an irrigation strategy to push a plant to grow more vegetatively or more generatively. We're all familiar with manipulating a photoperiod to force a plant to grow one way or the other, 18-6 for perpetual veg, 12-12 to force flower, but we can further influence it by implementing an irrigation strategy that provides the plant with particular cues that trigger specific modes of growth.
So I can see why, for those of you that joined us this morning, with the topics and how they combine the importance of the irrigation and the media, and one of the, to really emphasize the Grodan Rockwool and the ability to control the moisture content. Absolutely. And to determine what that moisture content is via the sensors. It really does help you dial in exactly what the crop needs and what you want to provide the crop, correct?
For sure.
Yeah. So are there any questions that have come through, Tammy, on the chat pane?
I'm not seeing any questions at this time. If anybody does have any questions for our spotlight panel today, please feel free to type them into the chat. We'll give you a second to do that.
Yeah, so while we're waiting for any questions to come in, I do want to take a second and just thank Michael and Grant again for your time this morning and your expertise, and encourage everyone who is attending our expo today and tomorrow to stop by their booths. Literature in both booths, very helpful technical information to help streamline your cultivation. And then also be sure to stop by our CEA booth. Say hi, and also look for the literature that we have and ask any questions as a follow-up to this session this morning. And on your screen right now, you can see our contact information for both the CEA team. So if you have questions for the Griffin CEA team, you can either reach out directly to your sales rep or also to your customer service. And we have the customer service number on this screen. And then we have the Grodan, we have Michael's information, as well as Grant's information from NetFM. So it looked like a question popped up. Tammy, do you want to read that for us?
Yep, we are wondering when the 4x4 by 2.5 improved will be ready in the States for distribution in the States, Michael.
Yeah,
so
that should be very, very, very soon. I recently got my hands on a small number of samples, so we're in the process of manufacturing them now. I suspect it will be weeks at most at this point. So I can verify that with our with our team in Toronto, but I'm pretty certain that the 6.5, that's the 4x4 by 2.5, will be available very soon.
That's exciting. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, Charlotte, I think we've gotten all the questions taken care of. Thanks again, everybody, for your time, and everybody for attending. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.